Hi, I'm Radhia. I'm the founder of TrendSavvyRx.com, and I just had an amazing conversation with Dorinda Martin. She is a pharmacist, and she owns or is the co-owner of 3 pharmacies here in Austin, and she has had a wellness pharmacy for decades at this point. And I had an amazing conversation about why it's important to implement a wellness department in your independent pharmacy. So let's hear what she has to say. How does offering wellness services help build stronger relationships with your customer and community?
I think our customers appreciate the fact that we're taking an interest in them and recommending products that will enhance the prescriptions that they are on or prevent a crisis situation in some cases or stave off a disease state for a longer period of time, to where especially our older patients can live more independently and in comfort and without adding on another prescription drug in some cases. It's very beneficial to the health of our pharmacy to do that as well because of the nature of the sale. It's a gross margin. It's healthy, and it's cash, and it doesn't go through a PBM or third party.
Oh, that's important. So from a business perspective, how can a wellness department help increase pharmacy revenue and customer retention?
Well, again, customer service is king, and if you treat the customer right, you're going to retain them. And just showing an interest in that patient and knowing their health background and health history so that we can better serve them will help retain the business. And it's not just retaining their business. They'll tell their Sunday school class, and they'll tell their neighbors and their family how good we have treated them and how we have tried to protect and enhance their health.
So, like, for example, and we were talking about this before, typically with things like drug-induced nutrient depletion, we know that certain drugs deplete nutrients.
Right.
So as the pharmacist, if you knew, well, Mrs. Jones, I see that you're, on a statin drug, you need CoQ10. Well, that's a $59 sale right there.
Right.
The pharmacist is missing out on if they don't. So it not only helps the patient, but it also helps your pocket money. Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Very important.
So do you think independent pharmacies can compete with big box chains by offering personalized wellness solutions? Why or why not?
Absolutely. Independent pharmacy can make decisions on a dime. If we want to put in a wellness department, we do it, and we stock what we want to stock, not what somebody in Chicago or New York tells us to stock. So we have the freedom to do that as a small independent business.
Okay, so what is your experience? So what are the key differences between true wellness supplements, nutraceuticals is what we refer to it, and commercial grade supplements sold in big box stores? And how do you educate your patient on choosing high quality supplements?
Well, in my experience, in our case, we hired individuals that were well versed and credentialed in nutraceutical sales and the all the science and chemistry that goes into knowing about these products and knowing which product works best with what and what might not be a good idea. Plus, we learned early on that high quality equals high results, better results. So it's better get what you pay for adage that we all know about. So it's very important to us to carry high quality. It's not only is it high quality, it's something that people don't know about, so they're interested in it and they want the best for their health.
Right. So it's really, we use a term called bioavailability. And we know that commercial grade supplements, such as a One-A-Day or a Sutrum, and you may or may not know this, but it is not regulated by the FDA.
Right. And a lot of those products have
Fillers, fillers,
and red dye.
exactly, which they just outlawed.
Right, right. And I mean, if you have ever worked long-term care, which is where I started my career years ago, there have been rumors that in the stool of some of these patients they would find undigested one a day.
Yeah, the nurses would call them bedpan bullets.
Yeah. I mean, so the bioavailability is not there. That's for sure. And it makes a difference. A lot of people have allergies to some of these fillers and ingredients, lactose, whatever it is. And so it does make a difference what you put in your body.
Sure. And it's important to, especially when you're dealing with drugs, with medication, it's important to know that you don't want an interference with the drugs.
Right. Contraindication.
Exactly. So contraindication, and also if you're going to combine drug and nutraceutical, you need for it to be extremely well balanced and absorbable and usable.
Right.
Otherwise, it can take away from the drug absorption.
A lot of pharmacists didn't learn about this in pharmacy school. I certainly didn't. And so that's why we hired credentialed folks to help us develop that inventory, basically, and to tell us what works best. And so we created a really good relationship between our wellness consultant and our pharmacist, so that when someone does present with, a statin, which CoQ10 is the best? Which one is going to do the best job in the shortest amount of time?
And one of those was me.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
For 10 years. And it was great for all three pharmacies that you had at the time to be able to bring that. I have 36 years experience with working with those nutraceuticals, and to set up those, departments and to work with your patients was just really vital. I think it was just really...
and you developed a good relationship with those patients as well.
Yes.
So it was really a team.
Yeah, it was. And we were like the go-to, especially like in Dripping and in this local area, we were the go-to pharmacy where people would come in and knew they could talk to Radhia, right? They could get their information. And I would always work with the pharmacist saying, hey, Dorinda, this person is on these particular medications. This is what I want to give them. Let's tell you, is there any contraindication or whatever? So to have a little bit more control over the usage of both the drug and the nutraceutical is really critical. Yeah.
So if you're ordering something on Amazon, number one, you don't know for sure what it is. And the other number one is you don't get any information. It's like, that's mail order.
Yeah. And there's nobody that's going to ask. Amazon's not going to ask you what drugs you're on, right? They're not going to ask or even have access to giving you advice on how to dose it, how to use it, what's
how long to take it.
Exactly.
I always see people being on things way too long.
And way too much sometimes, or too little, So it is really critical. This is such the independent pharmacy is the perfect go-to between medicine and complementary medicine, which is really what I'm a big proponent of, is complementary medicine. It's perfect.
Sometimes I've been to different conferences and I talk about how to increase sales in an OTC environment in a independent pharmacy. And we, tend to call those companion products that you can, sell to people. So, this is kind of like that, but on a higher level, because it is complementary and companion, but definitely complementary. That's a key word here, I think, because, you can fill a mouthwash prescription and sell somebody some toothpaste, but this is on a higher level, much higher. And it's very healthy for your bottom line.
So, Dorinda, if you didn't yet have a wellness department in your store, but you had access to a step-by-step program to help implement a wellness department. Would you be interested?
Absolutely, because I'll tell you, I've talked to other pharmacists around the country, really, about our wellness department and how we did it, and they were curious because it was so successful, and still is successful for the new owners. And they get overwhelmed because there's so much to know. There's so many different companies that you just don't know which one to pick. And then there's details about all these products. I mean, they're just as intense, really, as drugs, as far as knowledge base goes. So it is overwhelming, and some, they just throw up their hands and don't do it because it's hard. And none of us have time to go, take a certified clinical nutritionist course or CCN, is that what they're calling it? And plus, it's very expensive. Last time I checked, it was like $11,000-12,000.
It's expensive and time-consuming. Very, very time-consuming.
So to cut to the chase, that's why we have the wellness people. But we were an established pharmacy, and we were in an area where the clientele have spendable income, and it worked to do it that way. But if you didn't have that, and you were more rural than we're in high I guess, dense population area. If you're in a rural area, number one, you can't find a wellness consultant, and number two, you probably can't afford it. So to get your feet off the ground, something online to guide you, and then a voice at the end of a phone call if you need consulting would be a great help, without a huge investment. So yeah, it'd be very, very beneficial to have
right. So let me ask you, where do you see the future of independent pharmacies going, and how does wellness fit into that vision?
Well, in my opinion, in the areas we service, people are becoming more and more interested in holistic medicine and functional medicine. They're trying to stay well on their own and be, healthy even at a younger age, when most of the time people are healthy when they're young. But these guys want to, prevent long-term diseases. They're getting smarter, they're exercising more, they're eating better. And it's hard to do in this country, actually.
I did a survey of pharmacists, and I asked them, some key questions. And one of the main questions, or the first question that I asked, is, why did you get in this business in the first place, right? Almost 80% of them said, I got into the business to help people. Right? Exactly. That's what we do. We have that kind of nature, right? If you want to make a lot of money, go be a stockbroker, right? Yes. But this is more about service to humanity, service to your, community, etc. This is why they get into the business. But I have found, when you go to one of the big box stores, right? They're behind a glass wall. But they're, counting out pills, bottling them, and putting them in bags. Right. The thing that I found in your pharmacies and the pharmacies that I've worked with, you really start to know your patient.
Oh, yeah.
And their family, right? And they feel really grateful, number one. And really, when we went through COVID, right, our pharmacies were open.
Yeah.
And these folks had no place else to go because everything was closed.
Yeah.
Everything was doctor office. Exactly. But they knew that they could come, and they were worried and scared, and they knew that they had a place that they could come that was a trusted authority, that knew them, that was familiar, knew their names, knew their family names, etc., and could really be there and hold their hand, And it was an incredible time for us all. But that independent pharmacy was that go-to for all of that community. And for me, it was incredibly rewarding. And I think, judging from my survey, That's what these pharmacists originally went all through all of that pharmacy school and everything because they had the idea, I want to help people.
Right.
Right? And so what I want to do is I want to help them.
Yeah.
I want to help them keep their doors open, right?
Absolutely.
I need them. And functional medicine doctors need them too, because even if the functional medicine doctor carries some of these products, they can't carry the full line that the pharmacy has.
Right. And I might mention that over the years, I mentioned we've been in this business a long time. And over the years, we have had MDs actually office inside our pharmacy that were functional medicine type doctors. And in the negotiations for them to come in, they discussed, well, I prescribe or recommend a lot of nutraceuticals and vitamins, minerals, etc. And I want to carry those in my office. And I said, well, do you really want to do that? Because your office that we are, renting to you basically is like 14 by 14. You can't have, an exam table in there and blah, 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 all the things that you have to have, a desk, a computer, and an inventory. And they found quickly that, when we explained, turning this stuff over. I mean, if you carry a large inventory, we have probably $100,000 in inventory in our cost of these products. Now, we do a lot of it, so we can justify that. We certainly don't have to have that much to start out. But he didn't, in the past, he had done his own sales, and he had to eat some of that inventory because it expires. And if you've got a practitioner helping you turn that over, that's not as likely to happen.
So what I do in the course, because I understand, depending on the size of the pharmacy, you can only take so much inventory. So part of my course is my go-to products.
Yeah.
So I pick out the big brands and say, this is what I use for this. This is what I use for that. Right? So that you don't necessarily have to carry a full line. Now, if you've got a big enough store and you can supply that, that's great. But you can scale it. And basically, I do go through that. And I've been working with these nutraceutical companies since the early 90s, right? 30 years.
Yeah.
So I know, and I have 36 years experience with these products. So I say, there's 15 different lines of vitamin C. Which one to get?
Yeah.
Right? Which one would you use for CoQ10? This one. So we can pare down, and that's what I do because I understand what you were just saying. The inventory can be overwhelming.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And the more practitioners you have, either on staff or that refer to you, the more stuff you'll have to carry.
That's right.
Because that's how we ended up with all this stuff. We didn't start out that way. But you find out, this doctor wants this, this doctor wants that, And it doesn't even have to be an MD. It can be a chiropractor. We have a what do you call those people that use the needle?
The what?
They use the needle.
Oh, acupuncturist?
Yeah. He's a chiropractor, an acupuncturist, and a naturopath, all rolled into one. But he has not got prescriptive authority in the state of Texas. So he can't write prescriptions. So he just does all the supplements. And he's by appointment only, and it's click, click, click. And we've had Ryan for 5 years, I guess. I don't know how long he's been there, but a good many years. And he loves it, and we love it.
Yeah.
So that's another option, another avenue for an independent pharmacy.
And, in my course, I go through the pros and cons of if you don't have the kind of inventory or whatever, there's ways of setting up virtual dispensaries. There's ways of setting up e-commerce sites. With e-commerce sites, you still have to have the product and fulfill it. So I talk about the pros and cons of all of that. and what you would need in each one of those. But you don't there are ways today where you don't necessarily have to have a full line. It's better if you do because you have immediate sales, right? And like you said, if you've got a clinician in your pharmacy, then you obviously want to give them all the tools that they need, right? But that's what makes an area like yours or a facility like yours to be so beneficial to the community, because they see the practitioner and they walk out and there it is on the floor. Practitioner says, here, get it off the shelf, boom, 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 and hand it. It's an immediate sale for you, and it's the practitioner's tools.
Yes, so he knows that the patient is getting what he wants. Exactly. Because if he writes it down or calls it to them or tells them on the phone, they might go to Walmart.
Yeah.
And they're going to look for CoQ10, and they're going to buy the cheapest one.
Exactly.
And then it's not going to work. And then his reputation is tarnished. And, so we've had really good results with doing it this way, because we got all this walk-in traffic at the pharmacy that might not know about this stuff. And they, maybe they're getting a prescription for a pulled muscle or whatever it is. And they go, oh, you've got a practitioner here, and it just works both ways. It's very complicated.
It is, and they also, you do want complementary, for example, and you certainly know this, you've got somebody on an antibiotic. If they're not on a probiotic, they'll be back.
Oh, yeah. There's tons and tons of those kinds of examples.
Yeah, exactly.
That you will, and you'll find your pharmacy staff, your technicians, even your out front people will learn about supplements, because they'll hear this guy talking or lady talking, and they'll hear the pharmacist talking about it, and they'll just get more in the mode of wellness instead of one of the days or whatever.
Yeah, I had a lot of staff and a lot of clerks shadow me, or just hear my conversation.
Oh yeah,
or if they got sick themselves, Radhia, this happens. What do I do? Right. So it's a whole kind of community within itself. And everybody is learning and growing, and really, we love it.
And it's still somewhat of a novelty in a pharmacy to have someone like that, or to have the ability to service patients in a wellness type setting. You gave me some statistics that I didn't know about, how many independent pharmacies there are and how many of them don't have or do have maybe wellness departments.
There's 23,000 independent pharmacies and 19,000 of them do not have a wellness department.
Yeah.
So that makes you very special. But it's like, why? You are missing out on a huge market.
Where, as an industry, as a profession, we're constantly looking for niches that will deliver the kind of gross margin we need to stay in business and to service our clients, our patients, because we're not gonna make it on insurance claims. We're filming the script for 50 cents or whatever it is. I mean, we lose money on a lot of stuff. So this is so refreshing and so, again, healthy for your business.
Awesome. Now I'm going to ask you, and I especially wanted you today as a woman, right, in the industry, as a woman in pharmacy, what's the unique challenges you face in your career? Any?
Oh my gosh. Well, the challenges early on were a lot different than they are today. Today, there are more business challenges, and we're trying to survive in the marketplace and find cash sales, basically. Early on, I had my first store when I was 27, and I had a very young voice at the time, and we were a very busy store, filled 500 scripts a day without a computer. There were 5 phones and 5 ashtrays. That's how long ago it was. I mean, the guys in that pharmacy that actually worked for me smoked all the time. It was crazy. But one of the challenges I had was convincing a doctor on a phone that I was a pharmacist. Number one, girls were not pharmacists. Even when I would tell them I'm pharmacist, or they say, let me speak to pharmacists, I'd say, pharmacist speaking. No, I need to talk to your man. I can't tell you how long it took me to overcome that. And I had to just laugh it off because it didn't get to get mad about it. So that was one of the challenges that I remember basically as a very young pharmacy owner.
Well, the reason why I asked this is because when I did my survey and when I just started to really get connected through social media, etc., there's a lot of women coming into the pharmacy industry.
The whole profession has flip-flopped. It was a male-dominated profession for years. And when we found out, I guess nobody knew girls could be pharmacists. But I was telling you, in pharmacy school even, in some cases it was a real disadvantage, and in some cases it was a real advantage to be a female in pharmacy school. But I can remember a lot of classes, there were 2 or 3 of us. And now it's, I forgot, I don't know what the statistics are now, but it's way flipped.
So what advice would you give a young woman entering the pharmacy profession today?
Sky's the limit. You can do anything with that degree. I mean, there's just so much potential. There's so much demand. You hear all this doom and gloom about pharmacy, but I don't believe it. I've been hearing it since I was 27.
And you're still...
And I'm still excited about it. And I'm wild at that now.
Yeah. So finally, what advice would you give all pharmacy owners regarding wellness?
Get involved. Do it. Start small. You don't have to invest a ton of money, but get smart. Get yourself educated on it. Radhia has mentioned this course. It can be done. I wouldn't want to do it in one day, but you could do it one day. I wouldn't want to do it in one day simply because I would have information overload. So the way it's presented, it's at your own pace. You can do it at midnight if you want to. It's set up to work for your schedule because you're working. And I love that about it. And it's comprehensive. And it's a way, it's a niche, and not everybody's doing it. And you can compete. You're trusted. People know you. You know them. You know what they need once you figure it all out. You can add to your sales.
Yeah, I think it is the one thing that the big box stores can't even get close to.
No. They don't have time. They're not going to carry that high-end stuff because it's too expensive. People steal it.
Yeah.
Go into Walgreens, everything's behind a locked cabinet now, even like toothpaste. It's crazy.
And also, as we mentioned before, the stuff that they're selling is not quality at all. So it's just basically bedpan bullets, and it's sitting there, and you don't have the kind of staff that even understands. They don't even know the difference.
Yeah,
they don't even know the difference between
or not the
or not worst. Exactly. And these are nutraceuticals. These are specifically for therapy use. They're not just, throw a one a day in there and you're good to go. No, these are definitely for conditions. You already know your patient's condition because you know what has been prescribed to them, right? So you're in there already in the patient's business, basically, and the staff at Walgreens or CVS, they have no idea. They don't even know what those drugs are, let alone what the nutraceuticals are. So it's such an important venue, and I really want people to know that when I created this course, I created it because of my 14 years experience with independent pharmacies, because I get it. I know what your needs are. I know what your, struggles and challenges are in making this sort of complementary marriage, right? Who knows it better than me? I've been doing it for a long, long time.
Right.
So I thought about it and I said, this is really what I want to do. So what I'm talking about, this is an online course. It's called trendsavvyrx.com. You can go to trendsavvyrx.com. You can read about it. There's some videos in there to tell you more about what it is. And, as Dorinda said, you can do it at your own pace. There's 8 modules. The last module is options to possibly collaborate with me. And I really want to make it a simple, easy transition into something that I think every independent pharmacy is missing out on. There's 23,000 independent pharmacies, 19,000 of them don't have a wellness department.
I got to check.
They're missing out, right? So thank you so much. We finally got this together, and I'm so glad we finished. I really appreciate your time during the bat. Thanks so much.